Hey everyone, this is Oscar from Underdog, and today I'd like to offer you an exercise that I suggest that you do at home. It's a sound design experiment that's designed to give you goosebumps and to get you thinking differently about timbre and about delays and about reverb. Someone in the comments once said that I was like the Bob Ross of techno. I don't know if they're right or not, but let's lean into that metaphor a little bit further and call this painting with sound. Here's an example of the kind of thing that we'll do. So as you can hear, what we're going for is a very stable pattern with a lot of repetition, and then we make a short change in the timbre of the sound for just a moment, and that change knocks on over time and creates these beautiful smears, almost like a sound landscape, and that's why it's a painting metaphor. It feels like the audio equivalent of watercolors, where everything is wet and blends into one another. But before I go too deep into my painting metaphors, let's jump into Ableton and bring it back to sound. Let's go. Before we go any further, like the video and subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell icon, and have a look at our online courses at underdog.brussels. Consider supporting the channel by pledging to the Patreon as well. It helps ensure that I can find the time to make these weekly free videos for you. Speaking of helping us with the algorithm, do consider sharing your favorite Underdog videos with people who you think will like them, or on your favorite subreddits or Facebook pages, because this kind of sharing really is the fastest and most effective way to help a channel like this grow. But enough about that, let's get into Ableton. Okay, so this technique requires two big concepts. The first concept is that we need a synthesizer that's stable, that's almost a bit boring, that's just doing a very repetitive thing over and over and over again. And on that synthesizer, we need to be able to control the filter cutoff. If you're a little bit unsure about what a filter cutoff is, check out this video and this video, because they explain in much greater detail what that is. You don't need to fully understand it to be able to follow along with this exercise, though. You just need to find the one parameter that's called filter cutoff. Now, once we've got ourselves a synthesizer doing a stable, repetitive, boring thing, and we have control over the filter cutoff, the second part is that we need to smear it, but smear it massively. We need to smear it all the way across the horizon. So what does that mean? We need really long delays with high feedback settings, multiple delays feeding into each other, and a big reverb to splash it all out over space and time. So let's implement that in a simple version right now. So I'll make us a new MIDI channel by right-clicking and doing Insert MIDI Track. And I can Control R to rename that, and I'm going to call that the Synth. Now I need to drag a synthesizer onto there, right? Because this is just a MIDI channel, it doesn't make any sound in itself. So over here on the left, we can go to Instruments and find ourselves any of these that will work. I like to use Wavetable. Use whatever one you have available. Now I dragged the basic version of Wavetable on there, but that's just a very boring sine wave sound. We're probably going to want something that has a little bit of texture to it. And I don't want to get into sound design in this tutorial, so let's select any kind of presets. Let's go in here, find ourselves maybe a bass preset. And what is this basic 303 bass? Let's have a look. I can test run this synth by clicking on my keyboard. The middle row of keys acts like a MIDI keyboard as long as on the top right here, this little yellow button is activated with the keyboard. So that works, but now let's move up and down the filter cutoff. Like I said, it's the one right here. And let's see what that sounds like. Okay, maybe, but let me try one or two other ones. This is going to sound great. This is going to sound great. So let's program ourselves the most boring pattern that I can possibly think of, which is just straight 16th notes all across the board. Let's select one bar, you know, the distance between 1 and 2 here. Let's zoom in a little bit. And you can create a new MIDI clip like this. Control-Shift-M or Command-Shift-M. That's a shortcut you really want to get into your fingers. There we go. And we find ourselves a place where hitting every 16th note will lead to good results. So nice and low down there. I'm just gonna spread this loop out, stretch it out, and do Control or Command L, which makes it a loop. And then when I hit play, this is what I'll get. Okay. Now, notice when I open up the filter cutoff, I get that. It's kind of wild, huh? I notice also that it feels like the notes never stop because they run into one another. So let's select all of these notes and drag them back a little bit to leave some space. Yeah, that's nice. Much better. So now, interesting. Okay, that's exactly what we want. So this kind of movement in itself is already kind of exciting, but what we want is we want to create really long and complex consequences from just one small move like this. And for that, we're going to need delays and reverbs. Now, truthfully, this is a place where you can be super creative and do a lot of different things. There's a lot of different approaches to reverb and delay, but I'm going to show you a combination that's pretty much guaranteed to work, that's pretty much guaranteed to give you satisfying results and get those goosebumps that we are looking for. So under audio effects, you just get yourself Ableton's standard delay. And we look at the settings here and we remind ourselves that what we're looking for is long feedback. So close to like 70 or 80% feedback. Dry wet at 50% is super fine. And I like to activate ping pong, which means that one echo will be in one ear, then one echo will be in the other ear. That's going to create this kind of cascading stereo effect. And let's see what it sounds like when we do that. See what's happening now? Actually, this feedback is already a bit too long. Let's keep it like this. And let's use this filter that's on here. This filter, what it does is it filters out the frequencies of the echoes to make them sound thinner than the original. That way, it really feels like these echoes sit sort of behind the original. So let's move this dot up until we're getting pretty much only the high frequencies. And let's try that again. That's excellent. That's exactly what we want. Now let's add another delay behind that to give it even more complexity and so it doesn't feel like you just put the default Ableton delay on there. So here's another one. And to make this one slightly different from the first one, what we might want to do is choose a different length of time, but also have a relatively high feedback, move up the filter, and activate ping pong. And to make it different in terms of time, what I suggest you do is deactivate sync. That way it's not synced to the grid. It's going to create these pushing and pulling echoes off the grid. So let me just move this around and see what feels right. I prefer to set it to fade because now when I change the length, it's going to sound like a tape is speeding up or slowing down, and that's not really what I want. For today, that's not the sound design approach that I want to follow. Not convinced. Let's find the sweet spot here. We just want this to enrich the sound, not mess it up. That's pretty good. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm liking that. Now, for the next step is we want a massive reverb. And I've been liking Ableton's standard hybrid reverb quite a lot. Because what hybrid reverb is, it's a combination between something called convolution reverb and algorithmic reverb. That's why it's called hybrid in this case. But these are two different ways of creating reverb, and you can choose mostly the algorithmic one or mostly the convolution one, and they just have different characteristics. And the key control for that is down here, the blend. Blend 50-50 means that it's 50% algorithmic, 50% convolution. And I'm just going to move it all the way to convolution because I do like convolution reverbs quite a lot. That's going to disable the algorithmic reverb in there and only focus on the convolution reverb. Now, without getting too technical, convolution reverbs are reverbs that mimic very, very closely realistic spaces. They're created by going into a real physical space, playing a really loud click and recording how that click gets fed back in, and then creating a mathematical model around that to be able to apply that same transformation to any sound. If that sounds pretty spacey, it's because it is. Now, let's find here the different impulse responses, aka the different physical places where we can place this sound. And what we're going to look for, of course, is bigger spaces. That's what we're doing in this particular tutorial. We're going to bigger spaces and we're going into maybe something like overmuch. Let's see what that gives. Wonderful. Let's maybe make it a little bit drier. Wonderful. Now let's add in a beat. I love it. I love it so much. I could do this all damn day. So there you have it. That's painting with sound. So some other things I want to give you right now is some advice. If you like the beat that you're hearing, check out the Techno Rumbles Mastery tutorial right here and the hi-hat programming tutorial right here. These are good starting points to start creating your own techno beats. I'm going to put this project on the Patreon, so if you want to use this exact rack or these exact settings, you can get it there. You can support the channel by pledging there. Come say hi on the Discord channel and share the results of your techno paintings there. Watch another one of the music production videos right here. And in the meantime, stay producing, be good to one another, and take care. Bye-bye.